everybody, my name is Brooklyn, otherwise known as the Dramatic Otaku, and welcome to Take 2. This specific Take 2, we will be talking in depth several months ago about manga and where to buy manga in places in Melbourne. We'll be talking about stores that I mentioned in my manga collection video, and that is just this entire video. Me reviewing stores that I avidly go to, that I absolutely adore, in Melbourne. If you're a Melburnian, this video is for you. If not, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you want to visit Melbourne, these are some stores you could go to. Who knows? But yes, this was originally part of my video helping you guys with where to buy manga in general. I thought probably having 23 minutes of just places in one central place where I live isn't the best idea, so I went with mainly the chronically online people on that one. But yes, so this video is for Melburnians only, and if you want to visit Melbourne to buy manga. These aren't secret. If you are a Melbourne weeb, you know these places. I just want to help people who are living in Melbourne who want to find more places other than QBD and Dimmicks to buy manga. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you after. So if you live in Australia, obviously there is the two big main chain stores that you can buy manga at, that being QBD and Dimmicks. I have bought from these two multiple times, and I mean, they're chain stores, what can you say? Dimmicks has, I've noticed recently, expanded their manga collection. Originally, QBD and Dimmicks had a very similar manga collection sort of graph between multiple locations. I've been to multiple QBDs and Dimmicks across Melbourne. Personally, I like going to both because if I can't find a manga in Dimmicks, it will usually be at QBD, and they are often the same or similar prices. Now there is a little bit of give and take between these stores, as some manga will be like $19, $20, whereas in one store it'll be like $14. Okay, it's not that drastic, it'll be like $16, $14, but that's besides the point. I would highly recommend, if you just go to Dimmicks, also peruse into QBD, as more often than not I have found manga that I haven't been able to get in any Dimmicks in QBD because they carry a lot of these same titles. Because QBD and Dimmicks are chain stores, they are more limited in their collections. They do have more popular manga there, and you will be able to find like the firsts of each series there, and it's more popularity of manga means more quality and quantity of manga. However, they tend to only stock series, and it's not good in finding those really nice neat finds that you tend to find in more comic book stores or manga specific stores. That being said, Minotaur Comics. So Minotaur is probably the best Melbourne store to go to when it comes to manga and comics. And I say and comics because it is not just a manga store, it is obviously a comic book store. It started off being comic books and not manga. They do also sell DVDs, they sell products, they sell physical books as well. They also sell a lot of light novels for manga as well. And I really love it. It's moved from its previous location to Little Collins Street, so the photo that I have in a previous video of Minotaur is now outdated, but I have been to the new location for Minotaur, and it's great. Each time I've gone, there's just been more and more people going to Minotaur now, and I think that's because it was very easy to walk past Minotaur before. But any Melbourne weeb knows Minotaur Comics. Any nerd in Melbourne knows Minotaur Comics, and is a very good place to get your manga, especially to get manga that you don't see anywhere else. Two examples, personally for me. One would be Again. This was the last volume of Again that they had in the entire fucking store when I bought it, and I know that because I went back to get the second volume, and as you can see here, I do have the second volume. I had to buy that second volume off of Amazon because Minotaur didn't have it. So the uniqueness of Minotaur is a double-edged sword, as I have mentioned in the past, as while they do have unique titles that Dimmix and QED will not have, they also have certain comics that are limited stock because of their uniqueness. So again, there wasn't any high demand for the Again series, so they didn't carry stock. Another thing that just grinds my gears about Minotaur Comics, so Urusei Yatsura. I could not find this in stores anywhere except for Minotaur. And Minotaur had the entire series of Urusei Yatsura, and I got the first volume today. I would like you guys to look at that, because this is where the freaking tag was from. I don't have it, I pulled off all the tags earlier. But the little barcode tab that they have on the backs of books. Yeah, this is one from Dimmix. Nothing there. This has gunk on it because the Minotaur tag that they have on has this weird tin metal thing underneath it, and I guess that's a tag for making sure people don't shoplift or some shit like that, but it is just so irritating because it stays there and it lasts. And this is one that I bought today. Let's see which one will not destroy another book in here. Oh my god, let's try the Orion books. Now these have been laying on top of each other, but that was the tag. I've had these volumes for years, and you can see the browning on the backs of these books. That is because of the tags that Minotaur uses on their manga. That is one huge downside to Minotaur Comics, and it absolutely just makes me so irritated because I want nice, neat covers on my books, and Minotaur is giving me that. If someone can tell me how to get the tags off without leaving that residue, I would be much appreciative. But yeah, me and literally anyone that I've talked to about Minotaur Comics and the tags that they have on them have all had the same issue. They hate the tags because they have to pull it off and then there's residue stuck on the book for ages, making the book sticky. So there is that downside to Minotaur Comics, but otherwise it is a amazing store. I would highly recommend it. Minotaur is predominantly a bookstore, so there is a huge collection of manga, anime merch, kind of. But really, if you want to go for anime merch, and this place does sell manga, but it is more along the lines of Dimmix and QED manga, but it does sell a lot of really good anime merchandise, that would be down the other end of Little Collins Street, Critical Hit. Now, I fucking love Critical Hit. I have gotten a lot of my anime products and figures from Critical Hit, and I love them. I have gotten a few books from Critical Hit, and that's because out of all of the stores that I've physically gone into and have ordered online, because I have ordered or tried to order online from most of these stores, Critical Hit is the fastest when it comes to gaining stock for new volumes of certain manga. Now, this is usually for the most popular shonen manga. And I say that because I tried to look for Kugi-sama Love is War, volume 21, back when I needed it, on Critical Hit first. They didn't have it, but when I tried to go for Demon Slayer, where everyone else didn't have it, Critical Hit did. And I'm assuming the same will go with Jujutsu Kaisen. They've got a huge collection of Attack on Titan, or the full collection of Attack on Titan now, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. They particularly go for shonen anime in the manga section. They do have some romance manga, but it is predominantly the most popular shonen anime. Obviously, Critical Hit is not just manga, it is also, and predominantly is, anime merch. It is also not just anime, it is also gaming and a little bit of pop culture. It is predominantly anime, but it's also a little bit of pop culture as well. and they actually have something that I never thought I'd find. They have soundtracks. You can go and physically buy these soundtracks of certain anime, and I have in the past with the Sailor Moon soundtrack. However, manga-wise, Critical Hit is not the best. I would rather go to Dimmix or QED for manga over Critical Hit, unless it was a series that I was very serious on collecting and needed the manga now. And if it was a shonen anime or a shonen manga, say if I got into Jujutsu Kaisen, I would probably go to Critical Hit first. All Star Comics. I've been to All Star Comics and it is a little bit out of the way compared to where I usually like to get my manga. You sort of have to go away from like Minotaur, Critical, definitely away from Dimmix, but I genuinely like it at All Star. It's very difficult to describe, so I'm just going to put it into a pros and cons list. So to start with the pros, it is very quiet at All Star Comics. Now I did visit it during the middle of the day at like 11, 12 o'clock in the day when everyone was like at school, at work, but I've done the same at Minotaur and there has still been a lot of people at Minotaur. At max, there was roughly 3 customers at a time, not including the 2 staff that were there. But it was just really nice, really quiet. For some people that can be really nerve-wracking and maybe they prefer other people around, but I don't. I actually really like it when it's quiet in bookstores. So actually looking through, I had the peace of mind to like go through all the books that I wanted to look at. And yeah, it made me feel really safe because, you know, new place, a little bit of an outsider, don't want to be judged. But you don't feel judged because of like how little people there are. But something else that also made me feel really safe about going to All Star was that they very clearly boost LGBT works, and I'm not talking about boys love, girls love, none of that. I am saying that they are actively promoting all kinds of Western and Eastern LGBTQIA+ representation via like comics, and it is in the middle of the store. Like first thing you see when you walk in is this display that they've put up. And there was like a lot on the table, different body types, different types of representation, different sexualities. There was like polyamorous, there was all of that sort of stuff. There were various different types of representation in various different forms, from graphic novels to comics to manga. Essentially, I've just said 3 different synonyms, but still, it was all there, and it was there front and center for you to see, and that made me really happy and made me feel very safe. Something that's also really, really good about All Star is they have a very intriguing and unique collection of books. I know unique is like the buzzword of this video thus far, but I'm not lying. This expands beyond manga. Obviously, All Star Comics is mainly a comic book store and not just catered to manga. I'm not saying Minotaur isn't, but just across the board there was very unique books that I had, very unique titles that I'd never seen before, and I really found myself interested in a lot of these titles. And if I hadn't had a $30 budget, then I probably would have also bought a lot more titles. Something that's really also good about this store specifically is that every single book is in its own personal little plastic slip, so you don't have like damage done to the books. Obviously this is mainly done because it's predominantly comic books, but you can like Western comic books, but you can say like I bought Cutie Honey A Go-Go and this came in its own plastic slip. As you can see, it's quite thick, so every single book is taken care of, and I'm assuming they have to like hand package all of these, so yeah, and they're all like taped together. There's a buzzer on all of these if like they're opened, so you can safely say that you've picked up something and no one else has like looked at it, damaged it. If you're really into that sort of thing, I don't really care, but I don't know, it's just nice to hold a book that hasn't really been touched by anyone else, if that makes sense. Now, this is a point that's kind of in between, because I am making this video about manga. It is just a bookstore. There is very little extra merchandising, like figures, stuffed animals, all of that kind of stuff that you'll see at like Minotaur or Critical. You cannot see at All Star whatsoever. It is just a bookstore, and for some people that is beneficial because you won't get distracted by like all of the toys and like the different merch that you might be persuaded to spend your money on instead of like what you want to spend your money on. Personally, I actually found myself thinking more critically when that happened, thinking about like what books that I wanted to pick up, because I wasn't in the back of my mind going, actually, what if we bought that figure instead? What if we bought that Lum figure? What if we bought that Tomie acrylic? Like thoughts I've had in Minotaur. All I was thinking of is, what book do I want? Okay, I need to put this book back and this book back. I want this book here. Cons for a video that I'm making on places to buy manga. This place is, obviously, it is a comic book store and a bookstore point blank. It is fantastic with all kinds of nerd stuff. If you're really into like more than just manga, it is perfect. But if you're looking for just manga, it doesn't have the biggest collection. Again, it has a very unique collection with titles that I haven't seen in Minotaur or Critical, and that's saying a lot because the most unique finds I find are in Minotaur overall. So if you want more niche stuff, I would suggest going to All Star, but you have to be open to the fact that it is not just manga, and that's not to say that Minotaur is just manga. What I'm saying is that All Star caters a lot more to Western comics than Eastern comics. And I know that's not fair, as All Star has a much smaller space than Minotaur, and Minotaur sort of puts all of their anime stuff front and center when you walk into the store, and they just have walls of manga, and downstairs is where you get to the Western comics. Obviously that isn't fair when comparing the two, and I really shouldn't be comparing Minotaur and All Star Comics, but that is the matter of the fact. It is very small and it caters predominantly to Western comics, and it makes sense that they do that. All Star Comics in comparison is very small with one level. They have a very unique collection of manga, though it is relatively small when comparing it to like Melbourne's juggernauts of manga. That's what I'm saying with this whole section. Though, to say that it is really good is also to say that it is just the slightest bit, like maybe $1 or a couple cents more expensive than if you were buying from places like Dimmicks, Minotaur, Critical. It is the slightly more expensive than all of them. I compared buying manga that I have actually bought from all of these different places to All Star. It is on average just $1 more expensive, but there is with good reason as to why that's probably happening. I would be inclined for some titles to go to other stores, but if you're looking for titles that you cannot find anywhere else, it is worth your money to like go for the more unique titles that you will not find at other stores. But in the long run, if you're looking for a popular series, you're better off going to another store. On the note that every book is individually packaged, as I mentioned, you cannot open these to look at them, which you can do at other stores unless it has smut in it, obviously. So if you bought Yakuza Lover from any store, it will be packaged in like vacuum sealed plastic, but All Star Comics all come in individually wrapped plastic slips. The problem is that you cannot open the book to look at the art, flip through if you're interested in it. Some people aren't into that, some people are. I personally don't really open up the book, so this isn't a problem to me, but it is a problem to people who like to crack open the book and like just flick through the art to look at it. That one should probably also be on the fence, but I know some people will have more of a problem with not being able to open the book than not being able to open the book. So, yeah, overall, I really like All Star Comics. It's very, very new to me, this store, but I really want to go back, especially because of like the LGBT display that they have. I really want to look through all of those books and to see if they have some older titles that I haven't been able to see in other bookstores. There was a few that caught my eye, to be 1000% honest, so I really want to go back there and get those specific volumes. That being said, if you want something more commercial and to be a bit more popular, I would suggest the other stores. But if you really want to go for nicheness or want to go for maybe to also look at Western comics, definitely go to All Star Comics. Just another edition, again, a lot later than the last editions that I had. Another Melbourneian bookstore that I would highly, highly recommend is Robertson's Bookshop. It is another chain, I believe, and it is fucking gorgeous in there. It is a bookstore slash cafe, so there is a cafe area where you can sit and read the books or read books that you intend to buy, or etc, etc, etc. And it is a bookshop. This is the one bookshop where there is actually Japanese learning and language learning books in there. Oh my god! So I've been looking for textbooks to look for bookstores for learning Japanese, learning kana, learning kanji, and this is the one bookstore where I was actually able to find it. Dimmix is really, really convoluted in finding educational books that include like reading in Japanese and stuff like that. So I only was able to find one in Dimmix, but I actually found a ton in Robinson's bookstore. I fucking adore it. They do have manga there. They have a huge collection of manga there. I was actually able to find in person. I say Sailor Moon box set. What I meant to say was the Sailor V manga and the Ouran High School Host Club box set. Why are my lips bright red? I highly suggest this shop, especially if you're looking for the bookstore cafe aesthetic. Oh my god, it is so cool. It is actually a lot of specialty based books that I find as well. They do have a large manga library like with the other stores that I mentioned. Not as large as obviously Minotaur and All Star, but a pretty large comic and manga collection for a bookstore. Granted, Robertson's Bookshop is a very small store, at least the one that I visited is, and it does have to fit a cafe in it, so it is limited, but it does have a lot of interesting books. And as I just mentioned, if you're looking to find in Melbourne somewhere to find books that actually are educational for learning Japanese, Robinson's Bookshop, while does have a very limited amount, it's more than Dimmix. I can't find one in Dimmix or QVD, and I was able to find multiple in an easy access area in Robertson's Bookshop. So I highly suggest it for that part. The prices, and I have noticed this after going to each bookstore, obviously everything's getting a little more expensive recently, so it's not right to compare prices between Minotaur and All Star, because when I went back to Minotaur after visiting All Star, the price had risen for Urusei Yatsura, which was the book that I compared between stores, so it might just be that I went to them on 2 different days and the prices had just risen. So just a little insert there on that. But Robertson's Bookshop is roughly similar prices to that of All Star and Minotaur. So far, by far the cheapest bookstores are the big chain stores, so Dimmix and QED, who can afford to keep their prices at the same level. Minotaur, All Star and Robertson's Bookshop are the slightest bit more expensive, but you get an overall better experience, and they are specialty based stores. Robinson's Bookshop is a little more broad specialty, as in it does have the classic fiction, non-fiction, all that shit. It does have education books, but it also does have what feels like a higher variety and more clearly labeled sections for certain books, like fashion books, obviously manga, comic books, educational novels, all that sort of stuff. So I really highly suggest Robinson's Bookshop as well, especially if you want to go for the coffee shop aesthetic. So yeah, I would highly suggest it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Yes, I'm sitting on my bed. This is where I edit all my fucking videos. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed in some fashion. I hope maybe that you learned of new places to buy manga, especially if you're Australian. Here are some places in Melbourne, or not in Melbourne, sorry. Here are some other places in Australia that I follow on Instagram that are in other places in the country. Most of them are in Perth or in Sydney. I'm so sorry to everyone else. But yeah, so here's some other places. I have never been to them. I just follow them on Instagram because I do intend maybe one day if I go to Perth or I go to Sydney that I go to these places. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, I make a bunch of weeb content all the time. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, morning, weekend. Don't know why I keep saying fucking weekend. If you could please like and subscribe, I would very much appreciate. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and I cannot do that without you guys' help. But yes, that will be the end of my video. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!